Welcome to Comparative Media, CMST 410. My name is Rob McKenzie. I have a doctorate from Penn State University, and I'm the Department Chair of Communication Studies. I'm sitting here in my front yard. Behind me is a mountain ridge. I hope you can see it. Just in front of it is East Stroudsburg University, but beyond it is New Jersey, and then the Atlantic, and then Europe. A place that I've been to many, many times. In fact, my parents are British and for a brief time moved back to Britain, and I started visiting them when I was 22 years old and used it as a great opportunity to hop all over the European continent. Now, why am I telling you this? Because one of the things that I discovered was when I was in England was a lot of television shows start at really odd times, like 10 after 7 o'clock at night or 4:35 in the morning. And I wondered to myself, how could that be? I mean, in the United States, every TV show, just about, starts exactly at the top of the hour or at the bottom of the hour. Well, it turns out that Britain has a very different media system that has a lot of components that are different from the United States, which leads to TV shows starting at that time. We'll be talking about that in this class. So my travels are really what led me to be introduced to the idea that media are different all over the world. And that's what this course is about. It's about studying how media are different across the world so that in a big sense we can learn about our own media. Now, this is an online class. For many of you, this will be the first time that you've taken an online class, and you're going to need to be in charge of your own destiny. So in this video, our first video for the class, I'm going to be introducing some helpful tips to help you succeed in this class, as well as really explaining what this class is all about. First, a little bit more about me, though. I want to tell you about comparative media and why I designed it for this department. I designed it for this department because I felt that it should be absolutely essential to students taking the broadcasting concentration, also students in the media studies concentration, and really any of our students in the communication major who want to study media from a critical perspective. And in fact, that does introduce the idea of our department. It's called the Department of Communication, not communications, not communication studies. We changed it to communication, a singular field that's built around a core of courses, 6 courses in fact. Many of you are communication majors, you know what I'm talking about. Others of you, I hope and assume that you'll enjoy the course just as much as they will, because studying media is something that you're doing all the time, whether you realize it or not. It's just that now we're going to study media from an academic standpoint. And that leads me to the book for the course. I wrote the book for the course. Several years ago, I was sitting in my office and a book representative came by and said, "Do you need anything for the following semester?" I took a look at their brochure and I said, "You really don't have what I need for this course, comparative media." At which time they said, "Well, why don't you write something?" And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I am. I have a proposal for a book that I've developed that I want to work on a sabbatical. Sabbatical is when you take 6 months off from your teaching duties so that you can refresh yourself, usually with research." Well, she took my sabbatical proposal, and the next thing I knew, the editor for the Pearson Company, the largest publisher in higher education, contacted me and contracted with me to write this book, Comparing Media from Around the World. That set into motion a 3-year time period where I went to 6 of the 8 countries that I talk about in this book. I went to Britain, which was already a kind of second home to me. I went to Sweden. I went to France. I went to Mexico. I went to Ghana, Africa, and I think that's all the countries that I went to. Did I mention 6? The 2 other ones that I hadn't gone to at the time that I included in my book included China and Lebanon. And so those 2 countries were less familiar to me when I wrote the book, but since then I've been to China too. And in fact, this summer I wrote an article with my wife, who's also a professor at East Stroudsburg University, Kelly McKenzie. She advises undeclared students. And we wrote an article on how Chinese news portrays men and women. If you're interested in that, I can certainly send it to you. So I spent most of my career in higher education working on criticizing the media, understanding how media affect our lives. Criticizing is not always a bad word, meaning to say media are bad. It's really a way of understanding how media affect our lives. And that is where I focus most of my attention. As I said, my higher education degrees are from Penn State. I have a master's and a Ph.D. from Penn State, studying international broadcasting. I also have a bachelor's degree in history at Millersville University, which is where I started out my college career, just like you, at East Stroudsburg University. They're sister schools. The research that I did for this book was done firsthand. I met with some of the highest level government regulators and TV professionals and radio professionals and newspaper professionals you can imagine. I interviewed scores of people A very typical trip for me would be like the time I went to Paris and I got a hold of the top government regulator, the CSA, got a hold of a very top official, took my backpack with my laptop in it and my portable microphone and went up to the 11th floor or whatever floor it was in the high rise on the banks of the Seine. The Seine is the main river that runs through Paris. And I interviewed her for an hour. And through all these interviews, I was able to put together this book. So you are getting first-hand information in this book. It's not as though I'm assigning a book from another professor who's written the material. You're getting my direct knowledge, which comes from my direct interviews and my own original source gathering of information for this book. And I hope you enjoy it for that reason. Now, before we get into some of the details of this course, I do want to just talk about the Canada trip that we have coming up for this course. If you haven't seen the emails, please let me know and I'll forward them to you. Be happy to do that. But check your emails and you will see that this class has an optional field trip, meaning you can go to Canada if you want. We're leaving on October the 20th and we're coming back on the 23rd. That's a Thursday through a Sunday. And basically the trip involves $100. That's all it's going to cost for the following things. We're going to be staying in a travel lodge, which has a free breakfast in Montreal, the beautiful European-like, French-like city in Canada. We'll be staying in a travel lodge, and you get a free breakfast in the travel lodge. It's very close to downtown, to shopping. You'll have a lot of time to mill around, go exploring on your own. The drinking age in Canada is, I think it's 19, maybe 18. That's something that's of value to students, some students. But we'll be leaving on the 20th through the 23rd. And while we're there, the things that we're going to do are going to be related to this class. One of the things that we'll be doing is taking a tour of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's an entity like we don't have here in the United States. And we'll find out more about that later as we discuss the course. But we're going to get a trip through their facilities. It's an amazing tour. I've been on it several times. Also, while we're in Montreal, we're going to take a guided walking tour of Old Town Montreal, the town that looks like a little Europe. And then our final experience is going to be eating at a French restaurant so that we can experience dining according to a completely different rhythm than how we're used to eating in the United States. Also, while we're there, we'll have a couple workshops on Canadian media that I'll be running. So this is a great trip. It's a 7.5-hour car ride. We are asking students to drive separate vehicles and to carpool with each other. But outside of that, your only cost for this is $100. I can only take, though, the first 16 people who sign up for this experience. And everybody who goes will need a passport, which takes about 6 weeks to get if you don't have one. So if you want to go, there's a payment slip that's posted on D2L under the Content tab. You need to follow the directions that are associated with that, print it out, take it over to Enrollment Services, write a check for $100, take a photo of it, post it on D2L in the Dropbox so I can see it and lock your place in, and then take it over to the International Studies office, which is located in Stroud Hall. All of those details are in an email. I hope you join us. I've taken students on this trip 4 or 5 times during my tenure here at ESU, and students have always come back with the most amazing feeling about what they've experienced on this trip. Now, that brings me up to a second excursion that I'm taking with this course, and that is, it's not official yet. It's not official. I want to emphasize that, but it's looking very likely that I will be allowed to teach this very course in Sweden next summer, the beautiful country of Sweden. And our location places us just a few minutes by train from my own personal favorite city, at least out of the cities that I've visited in the world, in Copenhagen, Denmark. So we're going to be there in the middle of the summer if the course gets final approval. Again, I want to emphasize that. And I'm just telling you about it now because some of you may be saying, well, geez, I really wanted to do a study abroad experience, and this is maybe something that I want to do. I want to take this course in that way. If that's your situation, I'd be happy to try and find another course for you in this for your schedule if you want to drop out of this one and take the one in the summer. I hope to receive word about whether I get final approval for this course by the end of this week. All right, now on to this course. This is an online course. Most students who have trouble with online courses at ESU have trouble because they fail to remember when the due dates are for their assignments. And so I'm going to tell you, it's pretty easy. I've tried to set it up so that it's as easiest to remember as possible for this course. Basically, class takes place every Tuesday and Thursday. It's like a Tuesday-Thursday class, except you don't have to be online at a certain time. You have 24 hours to complete your assignments every Tuesday and Thursday. Everything starts at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m., and then closes at 1 p.m. the next day. So if an assignment gets rolled out on a Tuesday at 1 p.m., it's due the next day on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Same with Thursday, rolled out at 1 o'clock, due Friday by 1 p.m. If I were you, I would put that into your calendars, set your clocks in your phone so that you're reminded automatically you have to get something done on every Tuesday and Thursday. If you start racking up big misses of assignments in this class, it's going to be very difficult for you to recover, and there is no extra credit, there's no special exceptions, there's no way that you can do extra work for the class. This is not a high school class. This is a 400 level university class. So that's my first tip to you. My second tip to you is to constantly check your email. Sometimes I need to make adjustments in the class. Sometimes I need to make changes, and I send those out on email. If you don't check an email for a week and there's an adjustment and you've missed the adjustment, that's on you. So email in an online course is very, very important. Thirdly, check the documentation for the class. I've posted all of the documentation for the assignments under the Content tab. Under the Content tab, you can find out what's due, when it's due. The syllabus is on there. My curriculum vitae is on there. You could look at my background. But most importantly, the assignments and the parameters for the assignments are on there. Don't just do them based on the video. Make sure you have those documents by your side so that you follow them to a T. That's what you have to do in an online class. And lastly, if you want to succeed in this class, you've got to do the readings. So many students today believe that they can get through a whole entire college class without even buying the book. Not going to happen in this course. Most of the assignments are related to the readings. You've got to be showing me all the time in your assignments that you're doing the readings. That's what I want you to do. That's how you're learning in the course. Since I can't be in the classroom with you every day, you've got to get a lot of your information from the book as well as your own research. So those are my big tips for you. I hope you have a good experience in this online class. If you do it right, it really does free you up. You don't even have to be in Pennsylvania to take this class. You can be in Florida and do this class online. All right, now let's go on to the syllabus. Now, the syllabus breaks down the assignments for the class, and the first thing I want to talk about are what are known as the instructor videos, like this one here today. Most of those instructor videos are going to last around 15 minutes. You can pause them as you wish. I will always be posting them under the Content tab. Today, there's no real assignment other than one at the end of this video lecture that I'm going to give you. But we're going to start to ramp things up on Thursday. You can look at the syllabus and see what's happening. On Thursday, you're going to have your first quiz. And the way things work is you log on to D2L, you watch the instructor video, and then you take the quiz on Thursday. If you don't watch the video, you won't see the quiz on D2L. That's the way it's triggered. You got to watch the video to see the quiz. Obviously, the video is related to the quiz. So that brings up the second item that happens in this class assignment-wise, and that is the quiz. The quiz is each quiz that you're going to have in this class. There's going to be 14 of them. I'm going to drop the lowest 4 scores, leaving 10 quizzes. And that means that you're going to end up with a bunch of points coming from these quizzes. It's all spelled out on the syllabus. Each quiz is 5 minutes long. They are timed quizzes. Don't run out of time, because then you won't be able to answer all the questions. And you really need to read the book, the chapter that's assigned, listed on your syllabus, before you take the quiz. Some of you will be inclined to try and do the book as in kind of an open-ended quiz, but because they're timed, that puts too much pressure on you, and you end up not being able to really handle it. So there's quizzes in the class. Next up are discussion posts. Discussion posts are coming the following class after the quiz class. So we're actually going to have a quiz class this Thursday. You can see it on the syllabus. And because the chapter is not really getting into heavy material in the book, I don't have a discussion question for the first chapter. So the way that the first 3 days are going to go is today is just an introduction to the class. Thursday is going to be quiz number 1 on chapter number 1. And then Tuesday of next week, we get into the regular pattern. And here's what that regular pattern is. Tuesday we'll have a quiz. Thursday we'll have a discussion question. The next week, Tuesday quiz. Thursday discussion question. The discussion question is a question that I pose to you under the Communication tab of D2L, and I'm expecting you to answer that question in exactly 190 to 210 words. You've got to count your words, otherwise I will deduct points. 190 to 210 words. I'm trying to get you to hit 200 words right around there. And that discussion question will be posed on the chapter, and you've got to answer that question using your own original thinking, but also displaying that you've read the chapter. So you've got to be using chapter concepts in your discussion question answers. If you're not using chapter concepts, you're not going to score as high as you could score. So always be demonstrating that you're doing the readings. You can do that by quoting from the chapter. You can do that by paraphrasing from the chapter. You can do that by mentioning concepts from the chapter. You can even do that by citing, if you want to, the page number. It's up to you, as long as I can see that you're using chapter readings. When we get towards the end of the course, that leaves our final 2 assignments. We've got a research proposal, which is basically an idea for a research paper that you're going to pitch to me. And then once I give you feedback on it, you'll be off and running on your research paper. Your research paper is going to be that culminating experience. It's what makes this a 400 level class. You're demonstrating that you were able to conduct your own original research. And essentially what that paper is going to involve is comparing 2 different media samples, one from the United States, one from another country. And it's really exciting for me to read those papers at the end, because I get to learn a lot from you guys as far as your analysis of a British newspaper versus an American newspaper, an American film versus a French film. It's totally up to you what media you want to study. All right, so that in a nutshell is the course. There's lots of other information on the syllabus, so I do expect you to read that syllabus. I expect you to read it from front to back. I expect you to know what the course goals are, what I'm hoping to achieve. I expect you to know the nitty-gritty details of the assignments. I expect you to look at the schedule of events and see what's coming up for us in the class. All of that is on you, and you can start by being a good online student by making sure that you've read that syllabus. And of course, if you have any questions, you can email me. I answer my emails very, very quickly. If you want to come and see me, that's fine too. You do need an appointment with the department secretary. Her name is Marina Cameron. Her email is mcameron, C-A-M-E-R-O-N, @esu.edu, or her phone number is 422-3812. You can find that just by Googling that information. The reason I don't go over the syllabus in detail is because an oral presentation on an instructor video is not the most effective way to do it. So I'm going to let you do that. It's all part of being a successful student in an online course. Now, for your assignment. Today's assignment is I want you to record an introductory video. I want you to cover answering 4 questions, which I have posted on D2L under the Communication tab under Discussions. So go look at that and see what questions I want you to add. Post your video on D2L. A lot of people, like me, I do my videos on YouTube, and then I just put the link in there. So I want you to do that by 1 o'clock tomorrow, and it's basically to introduce yourself. At the same time, I also want you to put a photo of yourself on D2L, if you don't already have one, so that I can see what you look like and get a feel for what your personality is like and learn a little bit about your background experiences. You put that photo on there by going to your home on D2L and then going to the profile option. Okay, so those 2 things are what are due by tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And then from Wednesday to Thursday, for a one-time deal only, because it's the first week, I want you to go and react to everybody else's video, just typing a 1-sentence impression. And that will also go under the Discussion tab. And that is going to be due, your 1-sentence reaction to everybody else's intro video, including mine. I want you to do that by Thursday at 1 p.m. when we meet next. Okay, this will get the class somewhat gelled together as much as is possible in an online environment. It'll help me, like I said, start to learn your names and faces. And hopefully it will bring us together. That's really what the idea is about. Because when it comes right down to it, back here is the rest of the world. It's a big world. It's an exciting world that most of us won't get to see very much of by the time we finish our time here on Earth. But that's where media comes in. Because media, that's where media come in. Media is plural. That's where media come in. Media can tell us what the rest of the world is like. And that's what we're going to be studying in this class. Have a great day, and welcome to Comparative Media.